Hello and welcome to Notes from a Songbird. This is podcast number or episode number 4. So, this particular podcast is for those who are beginners who are looking to start their journey in singing, or even those who are middle ground. So, I'm going to say hello and welcome you to Notes from a Songbird podcast, episode 4, where we're going to build on episode 3 and some of the things that you're going to need if you want to take this seriously. And then where do you want to go? So, we've built some really good structure around where you want to begin. And let's talk about what you're going to need in your arsenal even further. One moment as I shut down this song. Hello. All right. So, again, as I mentioned, welcome. So, one of the things that I'm very passionate about, and my students will tell you, I get excited when I'm teaching. It is second nature for me. I've been teaching for years. For years. I was teaching when I didn't even know I was a teacher. So it's just something I'm passionate about. I always wanted to demonstrate. I always wanted to, when I say demonstrate, I always wanted to be that person to learn and help other people. So that's all I'm here to do, is help other people get comfortable with getting in front of this camera. So one of the things that I highly recommended from the last episode is a person really knowing themselves, get their starting point. What are some of the tools and tips that they need to start with so that they could be successful? We talked about in prior episodes why some people even quit before they even can really get started, and what it takes, right, to keep this singing, performance, musicality, whatever you want to call it, learning journey going. One of the things that I think is critical that I said I would mention on this episode is the learning platform. So we talked about different areas in which a person can start to practice their singing. We talked about some of the fundamentals, why it's important that they develop ear training, that they develop breathing technique, and so much. Getting comfortable with equipment. We'll go into some of those things even more deeper as we get into different episodes. But I wanted to get you click clack started so that if you are using some type of vision board, whether it's digital or paper, you could at least see that you're moving forward in your journey. I'm very passionate about a person's trajectory, right? That you must be on a path to growth. So I've been singing since I was 9 years old. I've been singing even more as I get older. I thought I would stop at some point, but I didn't know that I would have such a passion for music that it is second nature for me to just keep continuing. And I don't know how long I'll be able to do it, but I think with appropriate vocal care, taking care of myself, being disciplined, I know I can go even further. There's people in the business such as a Patti LaBelle. I use Patti LaBelle a lot of times for reference. Anita Baker. I use some of these artists, and if you don't resonate with them, that's okay. I want you to think in your mind of somebody who's been in the business for a long time, like the Rolling Stones. They've been doing music forever. Why? Because they take care of themselves. They're disciplined. They've been singing their songs for years. Their muscle memory kicks in. Their throat knows exactly what it should be doing. Their body knows what it should be doing. They know how to have fun on stage at the same time get to the nitty gritty of entertaining, because that's what music is all about. It's about entertaining, but how do you get to that point? That's a big critical question in terms of where do I start? So our last video, episode 3, talked about where do you begin? This episode is going to talk about certain things that you need to help get you there faster. I talked about discipline in episode 3, but we're going to talk about teachers. Teachers are so important. If you are a parent, if you're not a parent and you went to school, you can see clearly that subjects that you understood, you typically did well in. You might have excelled. And if you were passionate about that subject, I want you to picture your favorite subject. Mine was reading. Picture your favorite subject and go back into the recesses of your mind for just one moment. Think of that teacher who was so passionate about teaching that it just came effortless for you. You could just relax and just get into the subject and just immerse yourself into whatever tools, whatever you were learning, storytelling, and whatever it was, whether it's math, how the teacher was able to break down mathematical equations, even the difficult ones, and you understood them. And that aha moment when you really did understand the subject. I just took basic subjects, but if you go where I'm trying to create that shape in your mind or that memory in your mind, you understand that that teacher had to have a skill. It's the same with music. A good teacher is able to do those things. They are able to help you understand the fundamentals, what you need to learn day one, what you need to practice. They should be able to look at you and be able to tell where you can grow. They should be able to see your potential. So I have my notes because I want to be direct and not miss anything. So you'll see me glance down every now and then because I want to make sure I'm not missing a thing because I'm very passionate about what I'm sharing and what has helped me over the years. Excuse me, as I have to clear my throat. I was downstairs eating something really quick before this episode. So anyway, something good, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So a good teacher can be recognized by a mix of personal qualities. What I think of that a teacher's going to need as far as personality, they need energy. They need excitement. They need a welcoming spirit so that you're drawn to them. You also need someone who listens. If they're talking too much, they're not hearing what you're saying, where you're maybe raising your hand and saying, I don't understand, or they're not even paying attention to you. It's not a good teacher. You need a teacher who's engaged. You need someone who's patient. Because a lot of times a student is going to ask the teacher, can you explain that to me? Can you break that down for me? If the teacher can't do that in different ways, because you get where I'm going. A subject, I may not understand the battle of whatever, but you can get a teacher who can come in there and rap it. And I was into hip hop, heavily into hip hop back in the day. That if you rapped it, I got it because I was rapping it in my head until I understood it. And it was coming easy for me. But if it's a teacher who's going to be boring, that's right, boring. If they are not going to engage you and get you excited about the subject, then why? Like, it used to drive me crazy. And my most boring teachers, those are the classes I did not do well in. Sleep at my desk, or I just checked out. My friends used to laugh at me and said, oh, there she is. She's going in a daze. I could go and blank out, be right in front of you. And I had already been performing in my mind or doing something that I was even more interested in. That's just how I was because it did not hold my attention. Now, it's not the teacher's fault that they don't hold your attention. You should be a good student. You should take good notes. But at that age where I was starting out, I didn't know those things. So this is why I say note taking is critical to see where you start and where you end. And that's what a teacher does. A teacher can take notes, grade you, tell you how you're doing progressively, and help you to improve. All right. Let's talk about some of the things you want to look for in a good teacher, because some people don't even know where to begin. Where do I begin with looking for a teacher? We're going to talk about that. A teacher should have clear communication. That means they can explain a concept in a way that the student can understand. That means they, as I said, listen actively. So you mean this. So this is where you're having problems. They should be able to break that down and help the student draw conclusions. They should encourage questions. Students that I've worked with, I've encouraged them to ask me questions. And if I can't get them the answer right there, I tell them I will look that up. By that next class, I've got their answer. So this is what a teacher should do, okay? They can adjust their explanation based on the student's need. Not every student is going to be the same. Just like your kids at home, they're not all the same. One may learn quickly. One may take you 5 times to explain. You say, why is that? Kid could have some type of ADHD or whatever. You don't know. You have to discern the needs of that student and meet them where they are so you can move them to where they need to be. I hope y'all got that statement clearly. They should have a passion for teaching. If a teacher doesn't have a passion for what they're teaching, it's going to come through to the student. The student may not be engaged. The student may say, this is very, very out of my league, or the student may just check out, which could be another reason why some students don't do as well as others, because some just have a teacher who's so passionate, they make learning fun. They have to help the student learn. They inspire curiosity rather than just delivering information. I'm going to give you a checklist and that's it. No, they help that student go and drive them, help them see, okay, what do they need to do? And if you can see in those episodes that I've done, I've tried to do that. I've tried to engage and draw that student, anyone, to understand what it's going to take for you to get into singing, musicality, and anything that you desire to be, or whatever it is that you're looking for as a beginner, or like I said, even middle ground. I'm more advanced, but I'm trying to help people get to where I am. All right. And you've got to start as a beginner. You got to start somewhere. Patience and empathy. Understand that students learn at different paces, right? Responds calmly to mistakes and challenges. So I've had students make mistakes. And in the back of my mind, I'm not going, oh, I wish they could get this. Mm-mm. I remember what it was like for me. I remember my struggles. I remember my frustrations. That's what a teacher should do. A teacher should help to mitigate some of those frustrations or be there to iron out those wrinkles when they happen. They have to connect with the student on a personal level. I had a student rather, that very young girl, um, very young, and I didn't even know I could teach children at some point. But for me, it was a challenge. I said to myself, I don't even know if I can engage a child. But I went forward with it and I said, well, a child is very similar. A child is a young adult. And I had to go into my mind, when I was her age, what would I have liked to see? What would I have liked to hear? How would I have liked someone to say something to me? Was I funny? Was I engaging? Was I too serious for a child? No, children have to have fun. So I had to make myself be fun. I had to laugh and joke and do stupid things, funny faces, whatever I had to do to engage that student, because I was passionate about teaching them. The student is the one that I am going to give 100% to, because they're trusting you. They are trusting you to teach. And we don't know where that teaching will take them, but I know where my teachers took me, and I remember that. So thank you, all my teachers, because you are the fabric of why I am here today and why I still have the longevity. All right. Adaptability. Can adjust teaching methods to suit different learning styles, as we mentioned. Uses creative approaches when students struggle. Do you use analogies? Do you use maybe some type of physical teaching mechanism? Maybe you show them something. Maybe you have some type of visual aid. And I'm just giving you an example. Like if you're teaching students the circle of fifths on the piano, they're not going to understand that. You may have to have a circle with all the circle of fifths. Like you have to teach them what that means in music. You just can't blow past the subject. These are things that you would understand when you have a teacher who's able to teach those, I would say, fundamentals when it comes to music. It's very important. For somebody trying to play the piano or any instrument, they have to learn how to use those tools. So that's just an example. I'm giving an example. Strong knowledge of the subject. Are they a master over the content being taught? Why would I go to a teacher who doesn't know what the heck they're talking about? Or they're a beginner themselves? Not going to work for what you're trying to do. No. Can answer questions confidently and accurately. There's people who can answer questions, and let me tell you, they can sound very masterful as they deliver those answers, but may not be correct. See, you got to check that teacher. You got to check their background and just find out about them. All right, fairness and respect. Treats all students equally and without bias. My students can tell you I'm not going to give one something over the other. I'm going to go based off of your ability. A lot of them have, if they get a solo, whatever it is, it's not because I liked you. Oh, you got the cutest little shoes or cutest little dress, or oh, you have the cutest little bow tie. No, no. Or I know your mom. I know your family. I know somebody that brought you in. No, everybody stands on an equal platform. There is no one who's going to excel in my book better than anybody else because I'm going to treat you as an individual. I'm going to treat you individually, and as I like to say, meet you where you are. Okay. Singing, the teacher should be able to have a strong vocal technique or understand it, right? They should be able to control pitch, tone, breath, teach breath support, diction, and resonance. They have to be able to teach what all of that means in singing so that the student can now draw pictures or draw an understanding or conclusion. Performance, being comfortable with rhythm, dynamics, expression, phrasing, and improvisation when needed. Jazz has a lot of improv. Jazz is creating on the fly, as I like to call it. It's in the moment, it's free, which is why I love it. Scatting, whatever it is, teaching, being able to teach those things is going to help a student excel if that's what they want to learn. You too, as a student, have to know what you want. You have to be able to go to teacher and say, I would like to learn this, but don't be angry if you say you want to learn one thing and your interest shift, because in human behavior, right, in our nature, we sometimes tend to get bored and say, you know what, that's not my passion anymore. When I was younger, there was music that I could have been passionate about at the time, but that's not where it took me. Like, I was into a lot of pop music, but for some reason I gravitated more to jazz and rhythm and blues. So I liked that lane. I was comfortable in that lane. It was like a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly. I love my peanut butter and jelly, and those went well together. That doesn't mean I can't sing any other genre. It just means, where did I really draw to like a magnet? It was just drawing me in. And that's where I tend to excel. That does not mean I didn't like musical theater, which I loved musical theater, and I even pursued musical theater because I love that too. I loved classical too. I loved all types of music, but I ended up in a lane that was more a shoe fit for me. If that makes sense to you, drop that in the comments. You'll get what I'm saying. All right. Drop in the comments. I get you. I appreciate that. So, listening and ear training skills. The teacher should be able to help you with listening and ear training skills, helping you identify pitch, rhythm, tone quality, and expression issues quickly. You see, that teacher should be able to help you with those things. They should be able to guide students to develop their ear for tuning if the student is off pitch, if the student needs to learn what intonation is and musical phrasing. They should be able to help the student with those things. This is not to say they're going to get all of this in one lesson. The teacher should build a curriculum that teaches or helps that student build out. Okay. This is so important. Expressive musicianship. Models expressive playing or singing. That means dynamics, articulation, phrasing. There's sometimes a song does not land on the full word. Sometimes the writer will cut the word down. Does the student have the proper phrasing, or are they saying it properly, the way the word should be, said or communicated? No, if the singer is now cutting that word short, they have to have the right phrase. They have to use the right rhythm. So the teacher should be catching those things to help the student to listen to the dialect, right? Encourages emotional connection to the music. I'm so passionate about this. Oh my God. Because it's storytelling. If you can't make me feel something, and I'm not talking about technical accuracy. You could be technically accurate, but you didn't make me feel a thing. Teacher should be able to catch that. Shows versatility in style, classical, jazz, R&B, or contemporary, depending on the student's goals. You see, I'm not making this stuff up, y'all. This is what I've learned over the years. Performance readiness. Teaches students how to handle stage presence, My students can tell you, the ones who wanted to go on stage and perform, they got lessons in stage presence. I worked them to the bone, but they were ready. When they took that stage, they slayed because I don't play that. Anyway, confidence and nerves. I teach you how to get those nerves in check. I don't care if you're performing before 25 people, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I'm jumping rope now, but I'm a Bronx girl. Sorry, it came out. Or thousands. It's the same techniques, but they must be applied. Do they have interpretation? Demonstrate musicality during live performance. Do you understand what that means? Live performance, you bump. The audience might be clapping. You may have to get in there and get them riled up. They might be riled up. You got to match that energy. And even if the audience is dead to the bone and you want to get up and get cranking, teach you that. You've got to be taught, how do I handle that? How do I walk in a room and command that room? Very important for a teacher to teach. If the teacher is not teaching these things, then either that's not what you want, or you convey these things to the teacher and they're just not a good teacher. They may have to learn how to be a good teacher. Okay? And if they, over time, if they tried and they failed, then they just may have to look at something else, because a teacher should be teaching these things. Discipline and practice strategy, show structured approaches to practice, warm-ups, and technical exercises. They have to give you exercises that are technical so that you can do the thing that impresses people when performing and singing. Knows how to track progress and set achievable goals. When I tell you, I love this because this is 100% what I show students. I'm not tooting my own horn. At some point in the future, I would love to interview students that I have, and I want them to express themselves and then be able to tell you what they've learned, because at this point, I'm just asking questions and I'm going to let them take the floor. Okay, versatility and adaptability. Can teach multiple genres, techniques, or skill levels. See what I'm saying? Like, this is like beginners, but I teach all levels of, music performance and so forth, because that's just, people can tell you. That's all I can tell you. I can't wait to bring some of these people on. But anyway, adjust teaching to each student's strengths, weaknesses, and learning style. That's where the versatility and adaptability comes in. Demonstrate improvisation. So my students, I've demonstrated for them how to scat, how they would do it, how they can interpret, and then I let them fly. Sight reading is up to, if you're teaching music, you're teaching music theory, and a student wants to learn some sight reading, hey, why not? It's only going to help them be better. If they go out and do a job and they can understand, okay, where does that note go? Does it go up? Does it go down? Where is the note? I think that's so important. I'm grateful that my music school taught me those things. They might need to understand composition if they're writing music. I don't know what the level of the student is, but the teacher should be able to match what that student is looking for. Passion and inspiration. Plays and sings with enthusiasm. Oh my goodness, if you take that stage and you are dead to the bone, the audience is going to be dead to the bone too. There will be no meat on the bone. There'll be no excitement, and nobody wants you back. Unless somebody who thought you was just nice to look at. And that's for all the wrong reasons. See, you want them to fall in love with the music and how you sing it. Inspire students to explore and enjoy their own musicality. You have some teachers that they're living through the student. They're trying to make the student them. And if the student sings a note a certain way, they're like, no, you have to sing it this way. Where it could be the student, that's their own individuality. They're singing the note correctly, but it's their own style and way of doing it. Does a teacher encourage their own musicality, their personality to come through? Okay, I'm going to cut to the chase here, because there's some hard music techniques that a teacher should be able to explain, such as they should be able to demonstrate any type of category that the student is looking to learn. Sorry, I was off frame there a little bit because I was trying to put that note down. So they should be able to teach belting, mixed voice control. Why that's hard? Because it requires proper breath support, the larynx control, and coordination between chest and head voice. What a teacher should explain: how to maintain vocal health while producing strong resonant sound. Exercises for blending registers smoothly, going from one to the other, traveling. And it's so smooth, sometimes you can't even tell, right? They should be able to teach that. How posture, breath, and vowel placement affect tone and power. I mean, these are all the things that I was taught. Vibrato control, melisma runs, or sustain over long phrases. Now, that I may not be saying that word right. I think it's melisma runs, and if not, I will correct that in another video. But let me tell you, the people say, what is that? So that is when a singer stretches one single syllable of a word across several different pitches. Instead of singing one note per syllable, you're like, what is that? Well, the best way I can tell you is when the singer moves quickly and smoothly through a series of notes. So they're flowing and it's an ornamental effect. You're probably saying, but wait, I still don't understand. Okay, so let's give you an example. When Whitney Houston, and I'm going to put my notes away because this is important for me to just explain it off, just to give you an example. When Whitney Houston sings I Will Always Love You, and she gets to that part, and that I is not just sung straight. She sings it, y'all, I didn't warm up, so don't be judging me. And did you hear that? Like she's moving through the note, and then when she sings, you, did you see that that word you? But it's just not you straight. It's you and moving, making syllables and so forth. The teacher should be able to help a student understand that, because there's going to be songs where that's required. Like Whitney Houston does it. I'm trying to think. There's another art. I was trying to give you an example of somebody else who did it. I may come back to that topic in another point in time. But if you understand what I'm saying, what I'm displaying is teachers should be able to just show you what I demonstrated. The teacher should provide examples. And if the teacher can't give you an example, because that's a technique that a student's going to learn eventually, but in time. The student shouldn't try, or the teacher shouldn't try to rush the student to hurry up and learn. The student should be at a pace that is comfortable and conducive for their learning. The environment should be conducive for the student to learn. It should be quiet where the student can concentrate. If you hear noise in the background, the teacher's distracted, and let me just advise, you can teach lessons even on a platform such as this, such as, YouTube, Zoom, whatever your platform is. The sound quality must be crystal clear so that the student can hear well and interpret and sing back to you, and you hear them crystal clear. Music tracks should be crystal clear. The teacher should be able to give the student some type of wrap-up note, some type of homework assignment where the student feels they can accomplish a task. If the teacher gives the student something too hard, it's not well suited for them at their level and at that time, the student may get exasperated and quit. The student must be guided and feel that each time that they meet with that teacher, they are accomplishing something. I believe in teaching them to move the needle forward each and every time we take a lesson. Because if they're not seeing the result, why bother? I hope you enjoyed this topic today from Notes from a Songbird podcast. My name is Myra DeShields Farrell. I am extremely passionate about music, and that is why I've been teaching for so long. So not only performing, but also not even embarking, that's the wrong word, in even teaching. So like I said, I was teaching back in the 90s, yes, loosely, didn't even realize I was teaching, but then I took it a little bit more serious in, I want to say about 2019, 2020. And I've been teaching ever since. And now I've taught choruses. I've taught, I mean, everything, because I'm very passionate about what I teach. I hope this helped you a little bit. And until our next episode, we will talk soon. But our next episode, I'm not really sure where I'm going to go just yet because my brain is so full of information. But I promise you, it's going to be a good topic. I hope you enjoy these two episodes that are in conjunction with each other. Episode 3 and 4, where do I begin? And where do I go from here? Just basically, and why a teacher is so important. All right, teachers, do the right things by your students. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a good evening, good night, and good morning.